Hey y'all, freeze cracked here. Hey, I'm gonna try something a little different today. First thing is, I'm wearing a glove on this hand. Um, when I went to the last napping that I went to, two different guys gave me two different pairs of gloves, wanting me to wear them, and it really is a good thing, and I ought to be wearing them all the time. And the reason that I don't is because I play the underside of my work like a violin, and the feel and what I do with my fingers on the support and stuff is important to me. But uh, you can get injured pretty good. One of the guys that gave me a glove, the reason he gave me a glove, and he's so serious about wearing gloves, is he basically incapacitated one of his fingers years ago, napping when a flake went in and cut the tendon there. Um, so the hazard is real. But anyway, what I decided to do today, one of the things that I started doing is I have acquired a bunch of rock over a few years now from different sources, and some of the rock I have is pretty doggone bad. Well, the longer that I nap and the better that I get, the less it makes sense for me to work a lot of really bad rock, because at the same time I'm working the really bad rock, I could be working a better rock and get a nicer point out of it. And I like the puzzle, so I still intend to always work bad rock. But some of the stuff I've acquired has been in bulk from like somebody else or whatever, and there's quite a bit of stuff in there that's sketchy. So I've been wanting to go through some of it, and I don't like to waste the time, but I thought maybe I'd waste the time with you, and maybe you get some ideas too from some of the stuff I'm doing. So this is what I'm looking at today, is all Texas stuff, and it's a variety of stuff from Central Texas, the good, the bad, and the extremely bad, and the ugly. And I just thought I'd show it to you, and talk a little bit about each kind of rock that I hit, and give a few ideas about the initial reduction and stuff. Anyway, so here's a big nodular thing, but it's got all kinds of fossils in there. And you look at it and say, ooh, that's root beer. Well, it may be root beer, but this is not going to be a very good rock at all. Um, Man, I may have to go down in size a little bit on this. One of the things that's interesting, you try and find a little pinched out area to hit. This is like one of the worst possible rocks you could ever try and work. And the reason is, when you get these little calcareous marine fossils in there with the flint, somehow, I don't know why, the combination of a whole bunch of lime like that in with flint tends to make, in my opinion, from my experience, it tends to make the rock harder than either flint or lime by itself. It like cements it really big time, and it gets where it's extremely difficult to nap. Normally with Texas rock, it gets worse in the middle. So if you just keep hitting this thing and skin it, which is the obvious thing to do, you'll end up with something left that's much worse than either side. So in looking at this, the best thing to do would probably be to try and work this thing up toward that side and try and get some little point out of here if you're going to do that. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on any of these rocks, because that wouldn't be fair to you, because then it's just snapping. This, on the other hand, is a better rock that I got from somebody, and the thing I would tell you is, even if a rock is test hit, you don't necessarily know how long ago it was hit, and it doesn't give you an accurate judgment of the rock and the quality of the rock. Rocks aren't homogeneous necessarily all the way inside anyway, but I don't see any surface cracks on this that would, make it fall in half or anything. And it looks relatively homogeneous. So I'm holding it out at the end and just trying to get a little bit, trying not to waste rock, but I've got a void there that goes real deep. So hitting on this side, really, I'm going to lose all that anyway, unless I try and include that. Okay, the first thing to note is that a lot of Texas rock has a lot of cortex, and some Texas rock has cortex that is pretty darn tough. This is tough cortex. And the fact that there's no bumps or dings or anything on this rock is meaningless, because you can tell from this rock it's rock that came out of the host formation, the host limestone. It has not been in a river. It has not been in a creek. And there's a big difference because it hadn't been dinged around by anything, which takes away some of the indicators you normally get as to the quality of rock. But since most of the time being in the water doesn't improve rock, getting it from the host formation up higher before it gets down into the river might be better. This is smooth rock. This is nice rock, and it does feel like it could use some heat. Usually with the Texas stuff, if it's sandy or salty looking, it's going to be kind of tough. Anyway, decent rock though. I'm sure I can probably get something out of it. This piece looks like it was abo hit. This looks like a natural crack, but some of this other stuff just looks like abo hits. Dang, I'm weak today. And that's real sandy, real salty. So that definitely needs heat. You will not get a good point out of that. You might get an okay point, but you're not going to get a good point. You're not going to get anything you'd be proud of out of that rock, and almost nobody could, as far as I know. There's a lot of people that can take something like this and make it into a usable point, but this is not the kind of material you'd want to pick to make a great point anyway, because the flake tensile strength and the edge strength and stuff, this has got a lot of lime in it. You know, the lighter flints, you got to watch them, because some of them just don't have a high enough silica content to be great. I don't know why I'm grabbing some of this stuff to show y'all. This is embarrassing. This is what we call a leverite. I mean, if you're in a part of the country where you've got no flint, then yeah, pick it up, but it's full of little fossils. The other thing, when you hit something relatively slowly with a fairly large mass like this is a solid, by the way. No point in wasting a bopper on this kind of work. Now see, that end looks a little better. This is one of the things I want to show you though. One of the reasons that I have all this weird rock is because I like the result. Sometimes it might need some heat or something, but you get variability in the colors and the textures and stuff, and you can have a more interesting result if you work weird rock. I don't know if I hit this. I don't know what the deal is on this, but this is a terrible, terrible rock. And you can kind of guess sometimes from the outer structure where the freeze cracks are. If you see many freeze cracks, like in this case there's one there, one there, one there, one there, you start asking yourself, look, if I'm seeing that many already, there's probably a bunch more in the middle, and there's probably no point in wasting my time on this rock. Again, if you got the rock for free and you're in an area where there's no rock, then you might try and heat this thing a lot and salvage it, but it's a waste of time for anybody that's developed much skill, really. This concrete, we call this concrete. It's calcareous type formations that mixed in with the flint, and again, those tend to be harder and tougher than the host flint, and is very difficult to deal with. So I'm not even going to hit that. I'm not going to waste my time. Okay, this is a rock that's a difficult shape, but it looks like it might be a nice rock. And you want to try and salvage some of this kind of stuff. You want to use this kind of stuff if possible. Now, with this shape, you know, it's got a big bulb on this end, square end. This is a low depressed area that needs to be cleaned off. But what it looks like is you would want to maybe zigzag down this thing and end up with your last zigzag down like that, so you could take a hit big time right across here and cut about half of that thickness off right with one hit right there. Let me see if I can do this quickly and show you. Nice rock. Okay, now notice that hit my thumb and could have cut my thumb. I did that wrong. I did it too far. I meant to come down here and come back there and then that way, but that's okay. Now, the problem here is, you see, I'm not abrading because I'm kind of in a spalling or, dang, what is wrong with me this morning? I should have practiced a little bit before I should have warmed up before I turned the camera on. Okay, so you get it like that. But I do have an abrader, and I'm going to cheat because I don't want to screw this up, because it actually is a good rock and I don't want to ruin the rock just to make the video. Okay, so I just, the reason I did that is because if I didn't, that edge is likely to fail when I hit it hard. I didn't get this steep enough bevel to have like a hammerstone platform to hit right. So I need to hit on this point. And so that's my bad. But anyway, you see what I did. I went like that, everything to set this up to do something with that. And it's obvious why. Okay, so here we go. Cut off some of that, and then it's better to do this a couple times with it, or with a couple of different hits. So now I'm going to hit again here, overshot and cutting off part of that same time, and more isolating this. Okay, so then I'm going to hit this again, and I have to be careful because I'm not used to using solids all the time, and solids blow up bigger bulbs and they're shockier. So I'm actually going to support this and hit downward a little more than normal, and caught it too thin and didn't do very good, so reabrade. This might be Jerry's comedy of errors today. Dang. Okay, and as you can see, here we go. Real nice flint. Starting to show up little pieces of, little bits of concrete dots in there and everything like that. So anyway, try and work the Texas stuff towards one side if you can, although it makes it a lot more complicated to do that. This stuff is like ledge flint or you know, tabular type stuff. And this is freeze cracks, you know. This looks like much worse material right there. So, probably gonna need heat. Oh yeah. See this stuff? When you see that kind of tearing, it's not just sandy, but it's tearing. When you see that, you know, hope you got a kiln. But it's big. It's not too bowed or anything like that. If you want to make some big pieces and get some, and again, interesting material, you know, there's something to be said in my mind for making a point that's a good point and then not having it be out of a large commercial source of material that instantly everybody knows what it is. You know, it gives it a little more interest or mystique or whatever. Not that there's anything wrong with commercial material. I use commercial material too, but this is amoeba flint. This is the lighter version of the Pedernales amoeba flint. And you can see, when you see stuff like that in there, that's a little concrete spot in the middle of how the thing formed in layers. That's pretty good flint. It's not shiny, but it isn't salty or sandy either. And the lighter amoeba usually is pretty good. Don't know if this is going to work. When all else fails, you should have you some hammer stones. And if the hammer stones fail, you should have you some better rock. But you could turkey roast this stuff. And the real issue here is not that there's anything wrong with the flint, but that the shape is bad for a lot of people. A lot of people have difficulty with that shape. I can work that shape. The question is it worth your time on any given piece? How big is the piece going to be once you get through? But you lose a lot. Also, if you're buying it, I mean, you lose a lot. If you're buying it by the pound, you know. Ancient hits on a piece are meaningless in telling you what the piece is like, because you get gloss patination and crap on it that may make it look great when in fact it's just terrible. So you need to get below that and check it. That piece is actually about the same quality as the last one, and it's the same kind of flint. It's light amoeba. Okay, you might ask why I even pick up this kind of stuff. Well, I was there, it was there. I got some of it, and one of the main reasons is it's unusual stuff, and it's pretty. And so if you can work out a point from it, it's going to be a cool point. This stuff, some of it is kind of workable raw, but you can see there's concrete mixed in with a somewhat chalky black flint with little fossils and stuff that's pretty cool looking. So, I mean, really, you'd be better off if you could heat this. But it's pretty stuff, and what I do in the field, just in case you're wondering, you know, what I do in the field is if I'm collecting close to my vehicle, then I just try and pick crap up and throw it in the vehicle and sort through it later. And so that's what I'm starting to do now with some of this stuff. It's just been sitting around that I haven't really done anything with it. Because that's the best, most efficient use of my time. Now, some people actually will sit out and spall in the field, or biface even, and that's fine. Now look how cool that is. It may be difficult material to work. It may need a little bit of heat, but it's interesting. You know, it's got character, and you're just like, hey, where's that from? And this is fairly homogeneous stuff. It is this is also stuff tends to get grainier towards the middle. More problematic, but I can get a point out of that. This, on the other hand, that is heat-related damage. And once a rock has been in a fire that was too hot too fast, that's a bad thing, because I don't even know where this rock came from or why I have this rock, because I have too much rock that I got from too many places. But what normally happens with a rock like this is when you hit it, it blows up. So we'll see. You want to be careful too, because when a rock is damaged like this, what happens is, and this is also true of some like the raw flint ridge, if you just got a bunch of raw flint ridge that you quarried, which is even worse because that stuff is chalcedony and it's like freaking hard and razor sharp. The problem is when you hit stuff like this, it is an uncontrolled reduction. You're not controlling the flake with your finger to where it doesn't come off and flip and do anything weird. when you hit stuff too fast with too hard a percussor, or when you hit stuff that's damaged internally, is when your greatest risk is for injuring yourself. And because the chunks are larger, they have mass, they're unpredictable, they don't all stay under your finger like an individual flake, and they just go everywhere. All right, 20 minutes. I'm going to stop and come right back.